I was downtown Dallas last week, and I seen this lady walk out of the shop, and it was my neighbor. So I run up to her right quick and tapped her on the shoulder, and she turned around, and it wasn't my neighbor after all. And I just blurted out, "You know, you look like Helen Brown." And she looked at me kind of funny, and said, "Well, I don't look very good in green either." I was in the Air Force from 1964, or 1960 to 1964, and I had a good buddy of mine that got out about the same time I did, and he had always been bragging about going to Cuba to live. And I guess he did, because I didn't see him after that. And I was downtown Fort Walton Beach one day, and I seen him coming out of the drugstore. So I hollered at him, then walked over and talked to him a little bit, and I asked him, I said, "I thought you was living in Cuba." And he said, "Well, I was, but they told me I needed to leave." And I said, "Why? What happened?" He said, "Well, I was on the street corner one day cleaning my fingernails with my pocket knife, and this Cuban come running around the corner and run slam into my knife 17 times. So I left." When I was young, and still right out of high school, I was living at home, and then to join the Air Force there in 1960. And my mom sent me a letter about 3-4 months after I was in the Air Force, in basic and in tech school. And she said she had quite a bit of news for me. Said they didn't live where they used to. Said Dad had heard somewhere about most accidents happen within 25 miles of home, so they moved. And I had my Uncle Bert. He was employed at the whiskey distillery there in Louisville, Kentucky. And he drowned about 3 weeks ago. Said he was up on a catwalk, and he fell off into a vat of whiskey. And his co-workers tried to pull him out, but he fought them off and eventually drowned. So they had him cremated, and he burned for 3 days. And I had 6 friends of mine that was in a accident. We all went to high school together, and apparently they were at a beer party out in Deals Woods, about 15 miles from town. So they got pretty well liquored up, I guess, and coming back home they decided they would take the shortcut down by the old river road and cross the bridge there and save a few miles. Well, they got to the curve just before the bridge, and it was going too fast, went through the railing into about 12 feet of water. The 3 in the front got out okay, but the 3 in the back drowned. They couldn't get the tailgate open. I was in Nova Scotia a couple of years ago, and I was going hiking into the forest there, and when you first get to the entrance of the hiking trail, there's a big sign warning you to wear little bells and carry pepper sprays because of the bears. And the bells, they'll hear the bells, and they'll move on out of your way because they know somebody's coming. Well, anyway, they also tell you that you need to be aware of what type of bears are in the area. And you do this by looking at their droppings. Black bear droppings has little seeds and nuts and sometimes rodent fur in it. Brown bear will have little bells and smell like pepper spray. And yesterday I decided I'd walk up to the liquor store and get me a pint of whiskey. The sidewalks in our neighborhood are pretty bad shape. Tree roots run them under, and they're uneven, and some cracks and everything. They're pretty bad shape. So anyway, when I got to the liquor store and bought my liquor, and I was fixing to head back home, I got to thinking, you know, if I happen to trip on one of those bad spots in the sidewalk. Said that little paper bag is not going to be much protection for this bottle of whiskey. So I figured it'd be better if I just drank it there and then went home. And it's a good thing I did, because I fell down 8 times on my way home.